This is normally where I would sing a song about this. It's a song that gets on everybody's nerves, but I'm not doing that today. What am I doing and who am I? I'm Suzanne Tinkemeyer. I used to write for Pathos for over 10 years, a column called No Longer Quivering about the quiverful evangelical movement. And started doing this series on Sundays just to kind of go over the best ways to deal with still trying to have a faith and move forward because it's really important that we see these things for what they are. This week, I dealt with, hey, Celine, not with Celine. I dealt with some interesting things I had to talk about. Okay, let me say, don't believe anybody I'm going to talk about no matter what. And let's be kind to each other in the comments if we can. Can't, then the fickle finger of fate, the band bus will run you down because I am not shy about that anymore. So, Easter week. Okay. Easter week is a hard thing. And these are my opinions on Easter week. It's kind of the Super Bowl of religious weeks. It kind of is. In a lot of ways, it has a lot more loaded things about it than Christmas. Hey, Tamara. Christmas, you've got this baby that's been born that's saving the world. You got wise men, you've got shepherds, you got two parents running, well, not running from, but trying to go to register this thing. Later, they're running to Egypt. But it's a feel-good story that everybody can feel good about. So you have all those positives with the Christmas story, except that it can be really hard to function if you have um it can be a lot. Okay. It can be really hard to function if you don't have family and friends around. A lot of people don't have the luxury of those close relationships. And for them, Christmas is hard. Easter, not so much. Easter is more difficult for those of us still enmeshed in these types of churches. And even if we're out, we don't come out with this stuff. Good example this week. Easter week for me has always been about doing readings and reflecting on the Easter story all the way up till this morning when Christ is risen again from the grave. So I usually end up spending every Easter in prayer, sometimes really far into prayer. This year, I did the same, except I had some people who were more than happy to push me off and say, see ya, because they were more interested in exploiting my guilt than anything else. And when you have people around you that they are trying to control you using your own guilt, Easter turns into the Super Bowl. Now, I used to say in the States, I'd laugh about it because every Easter, in the run up to Easter, you would see pamphlets everywhere. You would see those tracts like the ones that Jill and David Rodriguez print up, the smiley face tracks, saying, shoo, or you would find a bunch of the chick tracks, that sort of thing. So I've always laughed at some of the stuff that I've received in the aftermath of, well, the leading up to Easter and then in the aftermath. Many interesting things. And for 10 years, I was part of the Methodist Church. It wasn't so bad. Lately, I've been out on my own, and it's not been quite so good. I started recounting my manifold sins, and let me tell you, I got a bunch of them. I'm not Simon Pure. I'm not perfect like just like anybody else. But I kind of got bogged down into that this week, this year, and it was really doing a number on my mental health. I probably apologized to about 10 or 20 people that weren't even aware of what I'd done. They said, huh? You did that? I said, yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking that most definitely, which is not such a cool thing after all. So yesterday I was talking to my dearest aunt that I love, Joanne, who gave me a new way to frame everything that I'd been thinking about. I have a really good Jewish friend that frames it this way. She said, Jews own all the world's guilt. Catholics merely rent it. Well, I was raised Catholic, and I sometimes will go back to the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is huge on penance. It's one of the underlying things. Hey, Middle, see Monica and Celine, I did see, but I don't know all these guys that say Monica and Celine, I did see, but I don't know all these guys that say I don't know. They maybe you're looser and more free, and that's why they're trying to go out with you now. Um, so we go back to the whole thing with guilt. So I was feeling a lot of guilt for stuff that wasn't even necessarily all my fault. Some was not. And I went and apologized to various people. They said, huh? Breathe in, breathe out, move on. And I was feeling bad about that until I talked to my aunt. And she said, Suzanne, why on earth are you tolerating this? It's all about Jesus risen from the grave. We don't need a gory recounting of how he got there. That story is everywhere. And her point was, and I think it's a valid one, is that, please excuse me, I'm trying to avoid sneezing on you. Her point is that we don't need to rehash that as far as beat ourselves up every Easter. We don't need to rehash that as far as beat ourselves up every Easter. We don't need to sit down with our hair shirt and our cat nine tails and beat ourselves up over that stuff. Now, is it good to consider what's going on in those previous spiritual? Yeah, it is very good to do that and healthy, I think, to take accountability sometimes. But after I had talked to her a while, I started thinking back about some of the traditions I follow now and thought, yeah, that's not necessarily the healthiest thing in the world for anybody who's coming out of religious trauma. It's not, it's kind of counterproductive to make you feel guilty when everybody in the world is already trying to make you feel guilty for letting go of your original toxic religious environment. You just can't throw all of this toxicity on it and then expect anything positive to come out of it. So today I am choosing not to dwell upon the gory torture of Jesus. That's what the Jesus Chainsaw Massacre was for. Oh, what was the real name of that film? The one that Mel Gibson did that was just very violent and gory beyond belief. So it's not necessarily a emotionally healthy thing to rest in that. It's emotionally healthy to keep short offense lists, to apologize frequently when you know that you've screwed up, which sometimes it takes a while to get there. And be careful how you're apologizing so that you don't trigger somebody else into something worse. Keep your eyes peeled for people who will manipulate you, because that's one of the things that was a big theme this last week is manipulations. And people out there will manipulate you left, right, and center for their own reasons, and you won't even know. You'll just be if you're like me, you're kind of doodly bopping around going, "Do, do, 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 do," like, and not realizing it until it's too late. And then it hurts so much when you realize that you have been manipulated into doing something you didn't really want to do in the first place, or maybe you don't even feel like it really needed an apology. One of the things that was really strange for me about apologies online was when I was reading you aloud my notes on the whole Katie Joy thing was I had started keeping the notes because I had very insincerely apologized to somebody within the anti community that I didn't feel one bit sorry for what I'd done or said. Not at all, because all I'd done was point out the truth. But I apologized in the most insincere way possible, and everybody bought it. They ate it up, and I was kinda off to the sidelines going, "What? It was that simple?" Since that time, when I have not routinely, when I have sincerely apologized for things that I've later realized were my fault, that I'd done wrong, it hasn't gone over as well as the insincere apology. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot then about the manipulation, and there's been more painful, horrible lessons since then about manipulation and who all you will be sharing your business with or not. I think most of us probably have really short lists of things we need to repent from. I'm not saying mine is short or long because I can't compare with anybody else's. I don't know, but let's just say I have stuff I routinely beat myself up for anyway. But with before you add all this in, and in these taco type organizations, the churches, they thrive on that. They thrive on making you feel guilty about something so that they can control you. So if you start to step out of line a little bit, they will try to manipulate you back. One of the biggest threats they hold over your head is that you will lose all of your friends. I'm sorry. You may lose all your friends. That may be true, that may happen, but it's not the end of the world. It will feel like the end of the world. It will feel like something like an earthquake has completely upended your life, but it's not the end. It's just another phase. And the sooner you realize that and realize that the people who are throwing rocks at you are doing so because they're trying to control you. And if you are not somebody who responds well to control, and I know I am not, I'm way too contrarian for that. When somebody tries to control me, sometimes I will resist just for the hell of it. So I don't know how I did it in our old church all those years. So I'm still sorting through all of this. I'm just kind of spitballing these ideas today. But make no mistake about it. People will try to manipulate you inside and outside the church. You have to look when somebody tells you you've done something and look at what's going on. Look at them, try to figure out if they get any benefit from what you're doing, because they may and they may not. You just never know. And avoid those churches where they use coercive control, where they try to push the guilt on you. All I know is next year, my Easter celebrations are going to be way different. There's going to be way less guilt and condemnation and more joy and happiness. More dyed eggs, less mangled emotions. So I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed Easter. I'm about to spend my Easter in my studio painting, which is something I absolutely love to do. And there you go. Love you guys. See you later.